Joining me today is Jeff Feingold, who's the editor of the New Hampshire Business Review. Jeff, you know, a lot of our guests and the politicians and the people we've talked to have really sort of gone back to this issue of energy in New Hampshire.
Yes.
And I want to sort of get your vantage point. Right now, everybody's enjoying relatively low costs of gasoline and heating oil, I don't know whether that'll stay. I don't know how long it'll stay. I mean, history says that if you look at the long-term history of that oil market, it goes up and down, and who knows what'll happen. But I've also heard complaints about electricity prices. Mercifully, we've had a great mild winter. But just what's the future of energy in New Hampshire, or what are issues you guys are covering around this?
Yeah, New Hampshire the energy issue is like the big kahuna of of New Hampshire economic development policies, because New Hampshire has among the highest electric rates in the country. New England as a whole does, but New Hampshire in particular has really high electric rates, and that is a major burden in attracting and retaining companies to set up here. And that's why we have projects that are looking to kind of bring more energy into New England. You know, we have the Northern Pass project, which will bring in that Hydro-Quebec energy.
Do businesses generally support that?
Well, there's business organizations that do, yeah. I don't individual businesses, I can tell you that.
Individual businesses, I hear you.
I know, but what I'm saying is it's geographically, I know there are very, very few businesses up in the northern country that support this. Famously, the Balsams, the man who was trying to rebuild the Balsams, Les Otten, he has come out in favor of Northern Pass. But for the most part, it's a very, very strong opposition to the Northern Pass project. And similarly, the other major energy project that's coming down the pike is the Kinder Morgan pipeline that bring natural gas, the fracked natural gas from Pennsylvania and New York. And businesses down in the southern part of the state, for the most part, are like the residents there. They're in opposition in many cases. Now, it makes you kind of wonder, it's like this NIMBY idea, what are the people
not in my backyard.
The people in the central part of the state say, all right, what?
It's not in my backyard, so we like it.
Exactly. But those are two major projects to be seen as helping to alleviate this burden of high electricity costs in the state. There are other aspects to this, in terms of renewable energy, and that's another matter that's
the net metering.
The net metering, which is basically if you have let's say a solar energy system in your house and you produce more energy than you need, you sell it back to the utility. And right now there's a cap of 50 megawatts on that for all the projects in the state. And we actually had a story in one of our most recent issues about how they hit the cap, the state. And there were, at least for Liberty Utilities, they apportion it to different utilities, and they had hit the cap, and they had no more availability to help for any projects to come through that they would do the net metering.
So just out of curiosity, so if there are two homeowners, homeowner one puts up the solar panels, and did it last year, sells it back. Homeowner two puts up the solar panels this year and started to sell it back, but hit the cap. And then, say, homeowner three is about to start, but the cap's already been hit. Do they apportion it amongst the three homeowners, or does the first homeowner get the benefit?
That's a good question. I'm not clear the answer to that, but from what it sounds like, it's basically your grandfathered in, from what I understand. I'm not speaking as an expert on this, but I do know the real problem with hitting the cap is that it gets rid of one of the major incentives for these companies that build solar projects and other renewable projects.
Right, because if you're the fourth, or
you'd say,
even if you're sharing, everybody's going to hit the cap sooner.
Exactly. And so there's been a big boom in New Hampshire in terms of solar energy development. And a lot of the people involved in the industry are very afraid that it's going to come to, it's just not end, but it's going to simmer down because of this cap either not being expanded, or there's been talk of eliminating it, but that's not as strong as not expanding it.
So we got about 25 seconds left. Quick question. Would from your coverage, most businesses, would they say, I'd rather have less business taxes, or I'd rather get the utilities, the electricity costs under control and lowered?
I think it's energy costs, because I think the predictability of energy is just not. It's a real wild card nowadays. I think energy is a major issue, especially in terms of attracting larger employers, because they just can't afford to do business here as they could in other parts of the country.
Okay, we're out of time in this segment. When we return, we're going to continue our conversation, so please stay with us.